Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center. Welcome to Knife AQ, episode 156 of the Knife series, where I answer all your sharp or dull questions. And if you've ever had someone ask you, hey, why do you have a knife? This episode's for you. All right, if you're new to this series, what we do here is we pull questions from our comments section, because you folks tend to have some good ones, and we like to get a chance to feature them. So if you have a question, you think it might be worthy, just drop it in the comments below. First question today comes from Christopher Brusa. DCA, help me. Every good EDC folder I have had has been lost and replaced. In the case of my Sebenza and Grayman Dua, twice each. That's painful. I no longer carry my good knives in my pocket, only in a leather case affixed to my belt when in the woods or hunting. I've tried knives from your sub $100 videos and have been disappointed. Sorry. What can I buy for sub around $300? Very good quality, a blade that is centered when folded, no bushings, tip-up carry, and a drop point. I'm not averse to flippers, but prefer a thumb stud. Thanks. Ouch! So you lost two Sebenzas and two Duas. That's, oh man, that just makes me hurt inside. Wow, all right. Sorry, I just had to take a moment to mourn your loss personally, because that stinks. So what I did for this is I kind of used those two knife suggestions, or two knives you mentioned, as sort of a jumping off point, inspiration for what I picked for you here. So I went to our website, I went into the folding knife section, hit $300 price limit, and started adding filters. Drop point, one of them, titanium handle, frame lock. Both of those knives you mentioned were that, so that's kind of where we looked, or where I looked. And didn't even have to go all the way up to $300 to find some things that I think would be good for you, or that I think you might like, which is great, because you're probably gonna lose it anyway, which that's still a lot of money to be losing, but I'll have something for that towards the end. First off though, check out the WeKnife Subjugator. Similar things, or I can see this having a similar sort of appeal as something like a Sebenza or that Grayman knife. 3.5 inch, 20 CV blade, elegant drop point, high flat grind, very slicey, $225 and some change for this knife with a tumbled titanium handle. There are some other handle options available as well. You got the frame lock, you've got a deep carry pocket clip on this bad boy, and you do have a flipper, but you don't ditch the thumb studs there, so you can go either way. Great thumb stud action. You said no bushing, so we've got ball bearings in the pivot on this one. Great action no matter which one you choose. And the WeKnife stuff is honestly built super, super well. I didn't actually look at blade centering out of the box, but those things can be adjusted a little bit certainly, but there you go. It's pretty much spot on. See Thomas get a nice down the pipe shot of that, huh? So that's gonna be a weird looking image for the folks at home, won't it?
Yeah, backgrounds are ignored usually.
So there you go. That could be a really, really good option. Feels super tight. Next knife you could check out would be something I think is kind of almost criminally underrated as something of a Sebenza alternative. It doesn't quite match up in size to the large or the small, and that might be the reason it's kind of splitting the difference. The Real Steel Phasma, 3.3 inch M390 blade, $212. So great edge retention on both of these knives. You got your drop point, you got a full flat grind with a swedge, Poltergeist Knife Works design, and nice, elegant, slim titanium handles. Oversized pivots front and back, reminds me a little bit of something like that Sebenza that has matching hardware or matching connector sizes for the hardware on their handles. These obviously, like I said, aren't the same, but kind of get a little bit of that vibe going on. Titanium frame lock, and actually I messed up just a little bit. These do have washers in them, not ball bearings, but it still flicks out really nicely, so you might enjoy that. But you've got single-sided, almost deep carry pocket clip on this one. The frame lock, as mentioned, $212. But honestly, here's what I would do. I would not buy either of these knives that I suggested. I mean, 200 and some bucks to 300 bucks is still too much to be losing frequently, unless you've got an amount of money that I can't even fathom at this point. So I'm going to suggest for you the Real Steel Phasma. Wait a minute. Not this version. They also make a stainless steel version of this knife instead of titanium with D2 blade steel for $68. That's a little more palatable and kind of gets you in a similar kind of vibe to the more high-end knives you're talking about. And then you can reserve those higher-end knives for more special occasions, perhaps. But it got me thinking, at $68, the D2 version of this knife is potentially a sub $100 Sebenza alternative, and I'm wondering what else is out there. I haven't taken the time to kind of build out a list, but I'm going to crowdsource it a little bit. Folks in the comments, if you think there are other, decent sub $100 alternatives to a Sebenza, let me know. Maybe we'll feature some in a future episode. Thanks for the question, Christopher. Hope that helps. All right, next question comes from SpaceCakes420. And this was a rather long, lengthy comment, so I edited it down a little bit for brevity. So here we go. I am a total knife noob and super latecomer to the hobby. About 10 years ago, something told me I should be carrying a pocket knife. I started with cheapo knives that I justified because I fish. They would fall out of my pocket, I assume due to a weak pocket clip. At least that's my guess, because when I cleaned my truck, I found 5 or 6 knives that I had lost under my seat. Cars and seats both, they have a way of consuming knives. It's rather annoying. The first real knife I bought, KnifeCenter recommended, was the Civivi Pintail, with carbon fiber handle and Damascus steel blade. And when I got it in hand, it was so good, it might as well have been a Chris Reeve to me. Since then, I've bought a couple of super steels from reputable brands, but now I'm at the stage where I'm trying to figure out what I need a knife for. This is where my question comes in. How do I justify buying knives if I don't do knife stuff? Well, here's what I have to say to that. Do you open packages, boxes? Do you trim loose bits of string from clothing? Open envelopes? Congratulations, you do knife stuff. There you go. If you're looking for justification, that's perfectly acceptable. Being prepared is perfectly acceptable justification because you appreciate the functionality and the design and the aesthetics of these foldable pieces of pocket art. That's justification too. Collectibles is certainly one way to approach this hobby. But yeah, if you feel like you need justification, and I for one, I'm going to go on record as saying you don't actually need justification, but if you have to justify it to yourself, being prepared is about as good as it gets. I mean, the saying goes, the knife, in its original form, was, the busted up piece of rock with a sharp edge is mankind's oldest tool that we've ever created. And it's helped us survive all these years. And I see no indication and certainly do not believe that it has become any less relevant or will become less relevant in the future to, humankind's survival and humankind's, dominance and ability to actually live the lives we want to live. So there you go. That's my justification. And if
I'd say even people who aren't into cars ought to wear a seatbelt.
Good point. You're referring to the they out there.
They.
Oh. Now, and that's the thing. You don't need to justify to them. And if they tell you, well, why don't you just use a pair of scissors for all those things? My reply to them would be, why do you need 2 knives to get done what I can get done with just this one right here? Sorry for maybe coming across a little snarky with this. That's what happens when you don't script these videos out. But yeah, no need to justify a perfectly legitimate tool. And if they're, too, hesitate to say small-minded, but too small-minded to realize, what a pocket knife actually is, or whatever other form of knife you need to get your stuff done, that's more their problem than your problem, I think. Anyway, that's my opinion. Thomas, anything to add?
I think I did.
Okay. Before we move on to the next question, though, let's talk about losing knives. First 2 questioners kind of, lost knives have kind of been part of the question, and those are sad things. And yeah, cars and seats are are definitely the culprit many times. Space Cakes, I'm glad you found your knives again, even if they were just cheapos. I want to just share real quick one of my lost and found knife stories, and it's this knife right here, a Wenger Evo Grip 16. That was my sidearm Swiss Army knife of choice for many years until I lost it. So once I couldn't find it, I bought the S16, which is basically just a locking version of this, and then the S18 when they switched over to the Victorinox lineup, because I could add stuff to the little accessories that would fit in the toothpick and tweezer slots in the Victorinox versions, but not the Wenger. But this has kind of spiritually been like my Swiss Army knife of choice for such a long time, and eventually I found it deep in the bowels of the living room recliner. Slipped out of my pocket, got into the guts and the mechanics of the thing, and found it years later. And that's why it looks a little bit beat up. In fact, the front side here, especially, the rubber insert right here really got chewed up. You can see some scars on the plastic around it. Wound up just kind of peeling the rest of that out, and this is actually now skateboard grip tape. As such, different texture than the rubber right there. Actually gives you a little bit more traction going on. So I thought that was a lot of fun. Glad it's back. Even though this is, not necessarily like a high-end knife or anything like that, it still makes you happy to find those things, such as your cheapo knives too. Anyway, next question we have today comes from Chicken Drumstick. Hey DCA, I have a coworker that swears by his Gerber Paraframe. While every knife has its place, I've been trying to push him towards an upgrade with no luck. What would you recommend as a higher-end Paraframe alternative? Sure. The Paraframe, I have one here in the package, is, for all its, good and ill, is a very successful knife for Gerber. In fact, you can see here, it's the #1 best-selling knife with a pocket clip that Gerber has ever made. They've sold butt tons of these. My uncle had one for a while, and they're not terribly expensive. The full-size version right here is about $33, I think. 3.6-inch blade. But even at that price range, you can get some stuff that I think treats you as the consumer a little more respectfully. For instance, Gerber doesn't even mark what steel this blade is made out of. You can get them, on the website, just says stainless steel. On the package, just says stainless steel. So I always am a bit more comfortable recommending something when you know what you are getting. So here are some other options that could work for your friend. You didn't mention which size of Paraframe he had. There are 3 versions. There's a 2.2-inch, a 3-inch, and a 3.6-inch. So I've got, for a 3-inch alternative, the Civivi Perf could be a really great option. 3.12 inches on the blade, Nitro V blade steel. So definitely a big jump up from not even sure what you're getting to one of the better non-powder metallurgy stainless steels available. Good stuff right here. Nice, thin, high flat grind, and similar aesthetics that might appeal to a Paraframe owner, and the same frame lock and opening style with the flipper tab right there. And something that's going to actually, does Paraframe have flippers? No, they don't. They have thumb studs. Apologies all around. But the same frame lock style of locking right there. So it should be pretty familiar right away, and the Civivi stuff, can't say a single bad thing about their quality. They just do a very good job. This one right now is actually on sale for about $55 off its regular price of about $68. So could be a chance to snag a deal. If he's got a full-size one and you want something as an alternative there, the CJRB Cord. The stainless steel handled version has a similar aesthetic to the Paraframe with the cutouts right there. Also available with solid G10 scales as well, without the cutouts. $57 is the regular price on this. You got a 3.5-inch blade, RPM 9 steel, which is a powder metallurgy stainless. Huge leaps and bounds from just stainless steel that the Paraframe offers. Great blade shape, a little bit on the tougher side, but still plenty slicey for day-to-day use. Button lock, so you got real fun action. You've got thumb studs, you've got a flipper tab, you've got a deep carry pocket clip, which is reversible. Just all in all, a very cool knife, a very solid feel in the hand. Either one of these options should give you something a bit more premium, a bit more enjoyable, likely than the Paraframe, without either of them breaking the bank either. So, hope that helps. All right, now we come to our lightning round for today. The first part of which is actually a subset of our Measured Once, Cut Twice segment. This one is in response to me. Last week I was talking about the difference between ball bearings and washers in the actual feel of a knife. And I really liked this comment. This is from Black Hogarth 4049. I absolutely know what you mean with the washers versus bearings thing. The bearings swing more freely, but you can feel them rolling. On the other hand, whereas washers are a little bit slower, but they feel like butter on glass, as DCA would say. I hope that helps. And I commented in reply to you there, but I'm totally stealing that butter analogy there. It truly does feel buttery. I mean, here's my bug out. It's just butter smooth. I would almost say this Kershaw Iridium on KVT ball bearings, though, that's almost a glassier feel. You said butter on glass, but I'm actually going to separate it. I think glassy really does kind of describe a ball bearing feeling as opposed to buttery of washers. Just an aside. Actually, this is a good opportunity for those who've been wondering, wanted to see a bug out, and I called this an Iridium a second ago, didn't I? Maybe. I did that earlier today too. This is the Kershaw Bel Air with MagnaCut steel for $150. Made in the USA with aluminum handles. For those who have been wondering how it compares size-wise to a bug out, here you go. Hope that helps. It says the Bel Air has a 3-inch blade. It's more like 3 1/16 of an inch, however. So if you live in a place that has a 3-inch blade length limit, I wouldn't go with the Bel Air. Next up for the lightning round, Mr. Chief BS. I see you, friend. Hey, Dave, I just got accepted to a grad program. Chief BS indeed, eh? Mm-hmm. Just kidding. I'm hoping to use my luck to be brought on next week's episode. There you go, my friend. I'm looking to celebrate by upgrading to a new EDC folder with MagnaCut steel that I can buy right now. What do you recommend in the 2.5 to 3-inch length and drop point shape? For this, you're going to want to look to the Italian manufacturers. They've got the options, the Lion Steel Nano frame lock with a 2.56-inch blade, MagnaCut steel, $260. You didn't mention a price range. Great compact folder, especially if you're using it on campus. You don't want to have something too big and obnoxious. The Giant Mouse Ace Tribeca, another great option, made in Maniago, Italy. Just under 3 inches, $215. Bit more of a solid feel, girthy feel in the hand. And finally, the Viper Vale, a Jesper Vaknes design. $182 for this one with a 3-inch drop point MagnaCut blade. And nice classy olive wood, this is flamed poplar wood. Feels good, looks good, flips good too. Check those out as options, my friend, and congratulations. Well, now we come to our final question of the day, which is, of course, our most serious question of the day.
Very seriously.
Mogu Kumail asks, wife or knife? Wife. For me, this is no question. Fortunately, my wife does not make me pick between the two. And in fact, the first gift I ever bought for my now wife was a knife. So there you go. Get you both, if that's your thing. That's all we have time for today. Thank you, folks. Keep the questions coming, and like I mentioned last week, hit me with your most serious questions. I'm trying to build up a bank of those. We're feeling a little bit thin in that department. Lay it on me. Drop all your questions down below in the comments, however. Let me know if you have any alternate suggestions for our folks who asked questions this week. And if you want to get your hands on any of these knives, let me or use the links in the description to take you to KnifeCenter.com. And don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program, because if you're going to buy one of these knives today, the least thing we can do is give you some free money to spend on the next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera, and we are signing off. See you next time.